University. Okay. Now
No,
it
sir.
is live. Now it is live.
Student.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Welcome to Open University Semester 4 Journalism and Mass Communication Master of Arts. We are going to deal today block number 3. In this block, we have 3 lessons. Lesson number 5, we call units. We call lessons as units here. Lesson number 5, that is unit number 5, is about 4 stages of campaign, that is RPCE model. And unit number 6, that is lesson number 6, is in-house PR structure, that is PR department within an organization. And lesson number 7, that is unit number 7, is structure and functions of a PR firm. In-house PR is different from PR firms because in-house PR is built within an organization and PR firms are external organizations. PR firms can be a PR consultancy or PR agency. Today in these 3 lessons, in this block 3, which is devoted to learning various types in the public relations process, that is campaign, and the role and functions of an in-house PR department and a PR firm. As I told you, PR unit number 5 dovetails the various steps in public relations process, that is from defining the problem through fact-finding and research till planning and execution of the planning, that is called programming, and then implementing, and then evaluating what has happened. Strategy plays a very important part in understanding the problem or issue and finding solutions that befit the problem while seeking the desired response from the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? Stakeholders means any public connected to public relations practice. They can be consumers, they can be customers, they can be listeners, they can be audience, whatever it is, they are called stakeholders because they have a stake in what you are doing. The 4-step model is very, very important, just like the 4 stages of communication. We have already learnt about what are the 4 stages of communication. That is, S, standardized model of communication. SMCR. Sender, message, channel, and receiver. SMCR, these are the 4 essential elements in any model of communication. Several models are there, right from Aristotelian model of SSA, speaker, speech, and audience. In those days, there were no mechanical devices, no telegraphy, no internet, nothing. Therefore, he has visualized that communication ought to be like this. From speaker, there must be a speech, and it should reach the audience. That is the primitive, the first, foremost model of communication. But there are several models of communications thereafter, given by communication scientists and social theorists, saying that these are all the elements involved in a communication process. But one standardized model of communication is SMCR, sender, message, channel, receiver. That is communication model. Now we are discussing about the campaign model, the stages, the elements involved in a particular campaign. Whatever is the campaign, particularly for our understanding, it is public relations campaign. What are the stages involved in a public relations campaign? This is called RPCE model. So let us deal with RPCE model first. This is called communication campaign model. In this, first and foremost thing is the situation analysis or the fact finding. Situation analysis or fact finding or research all mean the same thing. Research means pre-research. What is research? Searching again and again is called research. So the first stage of RPCE model, you remember this. You try to remember this RPCE, very simple. Research means fact finding, also situation analysis. So R stands for research, that is fact finding. In initial research. Also, it is called situation analysis, analyzing the situation before you move further into the campaign mode. So that is fact finding, also called research. And what are the methods of research? There are certain methods of doing research. There is also a thing called methodology. What is methodology? What are the methods? So both are not same. Methodology is a thing involved at every stage of a research, whereas methods of research are the tools and the techniques, strategies of research. How you collect the information for doing research is called research methods or methods of research. Methodology is the entire process of doing research, whereas methods are the tools you use. What are the tools you are going to use for gathering the information from the samples? You know what is sample, what is universe? Universe means total population. And from among them, you select some people or you select something, certain things, and you examine them. They are called samples. Sampling is one of the things in doing research. Okay, let us not go deep into research methodology and research, but what we want for RPCE model is the research, the initial research to do situation analysis and to find the fact what is happening. Then we go for planning and programming, and then we go for execution, that is communication, and then we go for evaluation. These are the 4 stages: research, planning and programming, communication, that is execution, and evaluation, RPCE. Remember. Okay, the first stage being fact finding, that is research. And methods of research are informal research techniques or formal research methods. The second stage is planning and programming. So whatever you wanted to do, whatever you think of a birthday party at your home, you will be doing some planning and you will be doing some programming. So program means what should be the program, where should be the program, how it should be, whom should we invite, should there be an invitation, or how we should communicate with them, whether by our phone or by sending email or by sending WhatsApp messages. These are all the planning and programming. And then communication strategy and implementation, that is execution of the program, RPCE. We are in the third stage. Then what are the methods, what are the media that we should adopt? Then the last stage is called the evaluation. So RPCE, research, planning and program, communication, that is execution, and then evaluation. After the program is over, after the program campaign is over, you will evaluate what has happened, whether the situation you have analyzed has improved further by doing all these things or not. If at all anything is to be done, you will do it again. So this is RPCE model. So research process is also called, as I told you, situation analysis or fact finding. The first step in this RPCE campaign, public relations campaign. Remember, this is campaign, public relations campaign, communication campaign. The first step in the campaign process is to define the problem. What is the problem? You have to define it. Even in research also, you have a thing called a research problem or research questions. Similarly, you have an issue. You do something research, a pre-research, an initial research, a fact-finding exercise, a situation analysis exercise. So define the problem and why it is a problem at all. There are various kinds of problems for which public relations solutions are increasingly sought. The problem could be growing absenteeism in an organization, drug use, why children are using drugs, smoking at workplace, of course, banned now, but whatever it is, eve teasing, or workplace eve teasing, or trolling women, whatever it is, and college rigging. Rigging is being done in the college. Whatever is the problem, you try to understand what is the problem, why it is happening, how it is happening, and then you will find the solution. So while defining the problem, it is easy to rely on the gut feelings or inferences. Now you know something already. What should be the what should be the solution for this problem? Unless you understand the problem, you will not visualize what could be the solution. So the basics, while talking about the relevance of research, points out that public relations without research is like shooting in the dark. Somebody said it. Ron Smith said it. Public relations without, for that matter, any research, public relations without research is like shooting in the dark. Can anybody shoot in the dark? Can anybody target anything in the darkness? No, it is not possible. Only when there is proper light, appropriate light, only then you can see the object and then aim at it, shoot it. It means trying to hit a target you don't see, you cannot see. So research is very, very important when you wanted to find out some solution to the problem. Research provides the foundation for strategic communication planning, because every company, every organization needs to understand the environment in which it is operating. That is very important. Unless you know what is the problem, you cannot guess the solutions. You cannot find the solution. You cannot move ahead with your strategic plan. In a nutshell, public relations needs research on people's attitudes, organizational image, the image of the organization. What is the image of the organization in the eyes of the public? Political and social issues surrounding the organization are an issue. The media perception about its policies and achievements. What is media thinking about the organization? Then only you can move ahead. What is the what people are thinking about you? What media is thinking about you? What your customers are thinking about you? All these things are to be kept in mind while searching for a solution to a problem. So research assumptions, also called hypothesis. Research assumptions, also called hypothesis, must be worked out carefully. So what is hypothesis? You know the problem, you made some research, and you draw out a kind of hypothesis. Hypothesis is nothing but an assumption, a presumption, a guess, a wild guess. Either it can be proved or it can be proved. So this is called hypothesis. While designing research, one must address questions such as, in the design, is the design rigid or flexible? Can the study accommodate the unexpected? Answers to these questions would help select cost-efficient research options. So when you go for sampling, when you go for gathering some information from the samples you selected, there may be cost-effective strategies, cost-effective methods of research, or some may be very costly also. So only when you do some kind of research, then you will understand what kind of methods of gathering information from the samples will be made known to you or to your team. So in public relations, research is also conducted to answer specific questions like, who is the target audience? Whom you are going to address? Whom you are going to talk? Whom you are going to study? Upon whom you are going to do some kind of research? So this is the first and foremost question, specific question. Who is the target audience whom you are going to address? What is the demographic and psychographic profile of the targeted audience? Demography means an area where people live. Psychographic profile means the people, the level of understanding of the people you are going to talk, you are going to address, you are going to research upon. Then which are most effective and ineffective channels of communication? For you to address to your friends and family people, enough if you have a WhatsApp group comprised of your friends, or another group comprised of your kith and kin employees. You need not go to a newspaper and say that so-and-so is happening at my home. Unless it is an obituary, we don't go to newspaper. Will anybody go to a newspaper to say that so-and-so marriage, so-and-so birthday is happening? No. So that is called cost effective. Appropriate channel for appropriate occasion. This is called selection of channels. Sometimes there will be a media mix of channels. Sometimes you use email, sometimes you use newspaper, sometimes you send an invitation, sometimes you talk to them over phone. This is called media mix. And public opinion and public perception of the organization is very important. As I told you, in this research, in this public relations campaign, that is what we are going to discuss. We are discussing RPCE model. The public influencers and opinion leaders are also important. Opinion leaders. What is opinion? The public opinion. We are concerned, public relations practitioners, we are more concerned with the opinion of the public. This is a very big subject in public relations practice, because we are going to influence the opinion and seek their public opinion by our communication. In our communication, there must be truth and facts. It is not advertising, it is not propaganda, it is not publicity. Therefore, you wanted to talk to them, give out the information, disseminate the information which is truth, and try to seek their favorable public opinion, that modify their opinion if necessary in your favor, in favor of your organization. So who are the public influencers? Influence are the people who command some respect in the society, who have got some command on the subject. They are subject matter specialists or some celebrities. Maybe they can be TV personality or a cine personality or a professor or an elected representative or a local leader, whoever he is. And who are the opinion leaders? Opinion leaders are those who opinion. Opinion leaders are those who lead the opinion. All other people are called information dependents. And these opinion leaders are called information leaders. Information leader is the one who has some information with him. And the people, the information dependents and the ordinary public, general public will listen to this opinion leader or the information leader because he is having some kind of information about something. So therefore, there is a setup. The information flow. The information will flow in a two-step order. That is, the information comes to the information leaders first or the opinion leaders first. That is one step. And the second step is the information will flow towards the information dependence. This is called a two-step flow of information. Don't confuse with two-way process of communication. Two-way process of communication is from communicator to the communicatee, sender to the receiver, source to the destination, and vice versa. Feed forward and feedback. This is called two-way process of communication. What we are talking now is two-step flow of information. The information lands on the opinion leaders or the influencers or information leaders first. And then from them, it will be disseminated, it will be given to the information dependents or in the public. So in your RPCE model, when you do initial process of research, you will list out all these things. Who are my audience? What is their demographic profile? What is their psychographic profile? And what are the channels I can use for communicating with them? And what is the public perception of my organization, of myself or my problem? What is the perception of the media about me? Do I have an image? What is my reputation? What is my identity? All these things you'll have to take into consideration before proceeding with the RPCE model, that is campaigning. Campaign is RPCE, RPCE is campaign will have 4 stages. That's what we are going to discuss. That is research, planning and program, communication, that is execution, and then evaluation of what has already happened. So these are all the questions you will keep it in mind before getting into any campaign. So now let us discuss methods of research. Research is a means to an end. Research is from traveling from unknown to the known and from known to the unknown. So this is a process. Research means searching again, and search. So some problem is there. You do some kind of research, you will try to understand it, you will have some kind of hypothesis, some guess, some presumption, and then you proceed with the communication, then you evolve it. A problem, situation, analysis, fact finding, these are all the stages we are talking about. These words you have to keep in mind. If you are a public relations practitioner, these are the jargons of the public relations profession. Every profession will have a jargonic language. Unless you use that, you are not a professional. Isn't it? There are still some people I see. I have 32 almost. I completed 32 years of experience in public relations and public relations teaching. And when I go to some offices, still I find the notice boards are, nameplates as public relation officer. Very shame on the profession. Very, very shameful professionalism. It is public relations officer. Never it is public relation officer. We are not doing single relationship with a single individual. It is relationships with the targeted people. It is relationships we maintain with so many people attached to this, concerned with the organization for which we are working. Never it is singular. It is always public relations, just like economics and statistics and mathematics and politics. Keep it in mind. Please keep it in mind. Then methods of research, informal research techniques. What are the informal methods according to practitioners? Still dominate public relations research. despite the availability of highly developed social science methods. Some of the informal methods, let us discuss. That is, one thing is personal contact. By contacting persons in person, you'll gather some information. Through gatekeepers, I told you who are information leaders or opinion leaders. They are also called gatekeepers of information. They have some kind of information. Let us see who are the gatekeepers of information, are the opinion leaders or information leaders. They can be reporters, they can be editors, they can be teachers, they can be taxi drivers, because taxi driver keep moving here and there. A tractor driver from village to the city, town, or town to the village, he will have some kind of information, first-hand information, which you are not aware of it. Therefore, he is called information leader, and you depend upon him for some kind of information. A college student or a high school student shuttles between the village and the town, or town to the city. He will also have some kind of first-hand information. A postman, a bangle seller, a village headman, restaurant waiters, they too have, because they keep interacting with various kinds of people. Even a restaurant waiter will have some kind of more information than you already possess. So in the Indian context, even a Pandapawala is an information leader. So nothing is immaterial. Everything, every man, you have some kind of information, he has some kind of, whoever leads the information is called information leader. He is also called the gatekeeper of information. So through gatekeepers, you will get some information. Through gatekeepers, you will get some, they are information leaders. By personal contacts, you will get some kind of information. These are all the modes of collecting information for your research, RPCE model kind of campaign. Through mail analysis, by sending mails to the people. Through field reports, there will be reports already made on every particular subject. You search for them, you will find some information, what you want. Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, under the Bureau of Outreach and Communication. Bureau of Outreach and Communication is an amalgamation of three already existing, pre-existing organizations. That is DAVP, Directorate of Advertising and Visual Publicity, and the Directorate of Field Publicity. These were the earlier Government of India media units. Three such units have been amalgamated into Bureau of Outreach and Communication. They will be having a lot of information on each and every subject. So before you find out a problem and seeks to solve it, you go to them, people, you talk to the people, you send mails and get response. And through field reports already available, also the case studies, you'll get some things. Formal research methods, and then focus group discussions. You go and discuss with the interest groups or pressure groups. Suppose you wanted to have some kind of information about residential welfare associations. You are doing some kind of thing on residential welfare association or cooperative housing or some apartment owners association, some kind of association of people where they wanted to meet and solve their own problems. Supposing as a thing is there that you wanted to elicit some kind of information, where do you go? An already existing welfare association in your neighborhood, in your area, you go to them. What is meant by residential welfare association, how it is formed, how people are charged, what are the people's responsibilities and rights, what the office bearers are going to do. All these things you will come to know only when you talk to this kind of focus groups, only when you discuss with these kinds of groups. And then another method of collecting information is media content analysis. So you go to the newspapers, refer to the old issues, refer to the old dailies. There may be some kind of some kind of research, some kind of information already published in the newspapers. So this is called media content analysis. So whatever has been published in the newspapers, whatever has been broadcast in the radio or television, that is called media content. And if you can analyze that, you will come to know some kind of information on what you are going to do research. And then communication audits, social environment audits, scanning, monitoring, and then stakeholder mapping. These are all the things in the process of collecting information. The next step is planning and programming. Strategy forms an integral part of planning and programming process. In fact, it is the organization's overall plan, that is what the organization wants to achieve and how it wants to achieve. So a strategy can be divided into various stages. For example, at the corporate level, dealing with the overall corporate, these are all the things. When you plan a thing, you will plan it meticulously. How you, that this is called blueprint, how you go about, you proceed about in your campaign. This is the second stage. Program implementation, planning and implementation. The potentially suitable and effective persuasive positions, the message packages, the most efficient media vehicles, the media strategy you use, the most suitable evaluation methods besides, and then the campaign timetable and the budget. Planning and program includes the budgeting also, because money is important for everything. Unless money is there, you cannot do anything. Even for everything, even for mobility, you need some kind of money. You have to buy the channels, you have to buy the medium of communication. It means you have to buy the time, you have to buy the space in your newspaper for communicating. Even for your writing letters also, you need some kind of money. So money is important. That is called budgeting. So first thing is research. Second thing is planning. The third one is communication. That is called communication strategy. That is also called implementation. First is research. Second one is planning and programming. Third one is communication. That is implementation of the program. Having designed a program, the stage is set for implementation alongside communication program. The job is not still accomplished. It involves thorough communications management. The experts must ensure, you are the expert. The experts must ensure that the communication thus designed achieves the following. You seek the following result. It must be seen, read, and listened to. Your communication must be in such a position, must be tailored in such a way that it must be seen, it must be read, it must be listened. It means the people must understand it. It must be assimilated. People can understand it. It must be believed. People should believe your communication, your message. Otherwise, they don't accept your whatever you tell. You don't accept all these things. It must be remembered. A message should be remembered by the audience. If they don't remember you, the purpose is defeated. The very purpose of communication gets defeated. It must be acted upon. So these are all the things you should ensure. And then the relevance of news media is that with free publicity comes the concept of third-party endorsements in the information provided by the organization, which in other words means giving credibility to the information. You might have listened about 7 C's of effective communication. What are the 7 C's of communication? Very important is consistency in that. So you communicate today, you communicate tomorrow, you communicate day after. Unless you communicate with consistency, the communication will not get into the minds of the communicatee, that is audience. So what are the things important here? Given here, the list of ways through which information is given out, that is disseminated to the news media, are the following things. Let us discuss all these things. News fact sheet. It is called fact sheet, simply. Newsworthy information containing 5 W's and 1 H in a bullet format. The fact sheet means to the media, press release or media release are one and the same. When there were only newspapers, people used to call it as press release because there were printing presses. When radio, television, and other media of communication have come in, now it is called media release. You don't get confused between press release and media release. They are one and the same. To the media, we give a fact sheet that is called news fact sheet. Newsworthy information it contains, and in the formula of 5 W's and 1 H. 5 W's means who, what, why, where, when, and then how. This is the formula of how the information is to be given. Generally, in the lead para of any news item, these all the 5 W's plus 1 H is answered. So that is called the lead para of any news item. So any fact sheet, similarly, just like news release or press release, will contain in the first para all the 5 W's and 1 H. And also another formula has been evolved that is called what is there for reader, WITFR. So, okay, So fact sheet is one thing. Event listing, a brief notes on the upcoming event or activity. Interview notes, transcript of interviews with organizational head, CEO or MD, whatever it is. Then feature release, story, report citing the background. Background is a backgrounder, it is called backgrounder. Then actuality or radio soundbite, audio news release, meant for radio because audio. Radio is called audio medium. Television is called audio visual medium. And then audio news release, B-roll. B-roll means sound bite for television. Video news release meant for electronic media. Media kit, a set of press release. The media kit will contain a press release, a fact sheet, a backgrounder, and other relevant information for the media. Of course, a scribbling pad and a pen or pencil. These are all this is called media kit. Then online newsroom. Online newsroom means in the website or the portal of an organization, there is a specified area that is called newsroom, where all the information relating to the organization is updated on a daily basis. This is called online newsroom. The newsroom, the media people or the reporter need not again and again, they need not talk to you or get in touch with you. They can gather the information that you place on the newsroom. Then social media. Social media, I need not tell you about what are all the applications available. Important being Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and other communication applications like many other, like say for WhatsApp and all these things. Now, the fourth stage in RPC model is evaluation. Evaluation. First thing is situation analysis, that is research or fact finding. The second one is program and planning, including budgeting. The third one is communication, that is execution of the campaign. And the fourth one is evaluation. In this, you will try to get the feedback, how the communication has been run, whether it yielded any result or not, whether we could communicate with the targeted audience or not. All these things will happen only if you can evaluate what has happened in your communication campaign. The fourth and the last stage, that is evaluation and feedback, that is the last stage of public relations process or campaign, is called evaluation. Evaluation helps in quantifying the public relations process. In other words, the exercise will reflect whether the objectives of the campaign were achieved or not. Therefore, these are all the four things. Let us take the example of evaluation of a company's house journal and see what the evaluation should ideally aim at. Journal, as you know, there will be two kinds of journals. One is internal house journal and the external house journal. You know it already. Internal house journal is for the consumption of the internal audience, that is employees and the hierarchy, entire hierarchy that works within an organization. And the external house journal is meant for exclusively for those outside the organization, maybe the shareholders, then stockholders, then public leaders, elected public people's representatives, government officials, bankers, all these things with whom the organization is concerned, but not residing within the organization, not working for the organization directly, are called external audience, are called external public, are called external targeted public. It is always targeted public that is very important here, because general public is a myth in public relations practice. It is always the specified public, the targeted public, the defined public. Then let's take the example of evaluation of a house journal. Reach to evaluate what percentage of employees received the publication on a timely basis. It is just an example of how you evaluate after releasing a house journal. Then exposure and recall. How well did employees recall important issues covered in the publication? Suppose you have given out a publication, a monthly house journal that is meant for company's house journal, that is a company's house journal. The first thing is reach, whether it reached or not. Reach does not mean physically reaching. What percentage of employees have got knowledge about it? That is that is the real meaning of the reach. Exposure and recall. how you could expose through your journal the organization's policies and programs to the targeted employees. That is how, whether they recall at least the cover page, the title. This is called recall. That is also called exposure. And then credibility. In case of some specific issues where the news of both the management and employees taken, did the employees consider the journal trustworthy? That is called credibility. Whether it achieved any credibility, I mean the particular journal which you have pushed out, the understanding, did the readers understand the company's position on important and critical issues which may concern the employees themselves? And then readability. Were the employees able to comprehend the contents without difficulty? So hi-fi language, even Gandhi used to write his 3 journals, one in Gujarati, the other one is Hindi, and I think the other one is in English. In whatever is the journal he has edited and published, he used to write in very simple language, short sentences, simple language, not the journalist, not the jargonic language of journalism, not the jargonic language of his advocacy, because he was a barrister. No, in simple language, that is called readability. Were the employees able to, or the targeted public able to listen to your message without any difficulty? This is called readability. Then results and impact. So in the evaluation process, you will see the results and also the impact of your public relations process, that is campaign. Opportunity, Keith Butterick emphasizes, he's a social communication scientist. He emphasizes on the following 3 processes of evaluation, whereby clients judge the impact of the campaign. So you have planned and programmed, communicated, and everything has been done. But the evaluation is the final thing and the important thing. No, whatever you told, whether the people have received it or not, that is more important. So opportunities to see. OTS, this is called. This is a scorecard measuring the output and presented before a client. Newspaper or magazine clippings appearing in the media and the company are used to evaluate the volume and tone of the coverage. That is one yardstick. The second yardstick is advertising value equivalence, AVE. So this methodology is used to measure the amount of space given to a particular coverage in terms of column width plus calculating the cost of the advertising. Column width, column centimeter. Suppose you are giving some advertising in any newspaper, that is print medium. So the money is calculated in terms of column centimeters. The newspaper will have several columns, 8 columns, and centimeter is the height, column width is 8 columns. So whatever you advertise is calculated and charged according to that. That is called advertising. And similarly, supposing 3 columns, 4 centimeters will cost you 1,000 rupees. This is the quantifying the space in a newspaper. And then you give out some information through your RPC, through your campaign, and it has, the media has, the newspaper has covered so much of space. Your item has been covered in the newspaper, covering so much of 5 columns and then are 5 or 6 centimeters. So what is the money equivalent to the coverage? So that is what, this is also another scorecard. This is called advertising value equivalence. First one is OTS, the second one is AVE. And then payment by results. This is another yardstick. PR agencies are paid by the results of their work. If you are depending upon a PR agency or a PR consultancy, you will be paying them according to their service. But this one method is paying the agencies by the results of their work. So this is another yardstick. These are all the things. So let us go to, after unit 5 is over, let us go to the unit number 6 that deals with in-house PR structure. So in this lesson, we are going to deal with organization and management of a PR department within an organization or within a government department or within a company, within an industrial establishment or a business house, whatever it is, a corporate hospital, whatever is the. Generally, an organization, a PR department is a small wing or a department within an organization. What is the structure of a PR department? If it is in an in-house PR department, and what are the functions assigned to it, and then what is the role of this PR department in management, or whether it contacts, it is in touch with the top management, or what is its level at the lower level, or at the middle level, or at the decision making level. Let us examine all these things. So approaches in organizing the PR department. What are the approaches? Structure of central government PR departments. I already told you there are several Government of India media units, including All India Radio, including Doordarshan, IIMC, OBC, Press Information Bureau, Films Division, Song and Drama Division, Photo Division. All these things are called Government of India media units. All these Government of India media units will disseminate information about the policies and programs of the government. Okay. So what is the structure of PR department at central government? This is what we are going to talk. Structure of PR department in the state government. How the state government will maintain, what is the name of the department in the state government that deals with the public relations and that disseminates public information. That means the information about the policies and the programs, mostly the welfare programs and the programs that are meant for the public, it has to be told to the general public, or at least the targeted public. So what is the structure at the state level? And then the structure of the structure of PR department or PR wing in private sector, how it looks like. And what is the structure of PR wing in a NGO, non-governmental organization, or voluntary organization, or not-for-profit organization. Then in this lesson, we are going to see the PR practice in 3 systems. That is in-house PR, PR consultancy, and combination of 2 systems. In-house PR means a wing or a department within an organization where PR setup will be there. PR consultancy is outside the organization, where PR department or PR wing is not within the organization, but the services are outsourced. We avail the services of whatever we do from the public relations point of view from a consultancy or an agency. And in some organization, though PR department is there, the department will take the services of the either consultancy or an agency. There is a difference between a consultancy and an agency. Consultancy is somewhat smaller because it gives you only a consultancy advisory role it plays. Whereas an agency it works as an agent for you. You being the principal, it works as an agency. You can entrust certain things, and then after the work is over, they will report back to you. So that is the subtle difference between a PR consultancy and PR agency, but put together, they are called PR firms. One is the internal PR department, that is called in-house PR. This is one kind of set. The other one is external PR, that is depending upon either PR consultancy or PR agency, they are called PR firms. Then what are the advantages of having an in-house PR department? What are the disadvantages? What is the advantage of having an external consultant? And what are the advantages and disadvantages of having both internal department and external PR agency? All these things will be discussed in this lesson. So organization and management of a department, a PR department will be, the structure looks like this. To be strictly speaking, there is no specific model that would suggest where public relations fits in a hierarchy of a management till now. But now clouds are clear. Everything is aware of what public relations is, what is the importance of public relations. Now people started, especially, the other day I told you, for the first time in India, public relations word has been coined in the 1941, before the Press Information Bureau has been formed. And then from then onwards, SCOPE was an organization, SCOPE, SCOPE was an organization. And then industrial policy resolutions of 1948 and 1956, they paved the way for establishment of public sector undertakings. And then there was a compulsion, there was a direction from the government to have PR department for each and every public sector undertaking. This is the origin. This is the origin of why public relations, internal public relations department have been established in each organization. So in some organizations, public relations outfit is created when it is faced with a crisis situation. Only when there is a crisis, then only a department is hurriedly, a simple wing, a small wing called public communication wing or public relations wing or industrial relations wing. Some unit is created contingently only for the purpose. The department continues to function because the management feels that it did a fairly good job on that particular crisis situation. So it has come up from a particular situation and will continue as long as under the pleasure of the head of the department or the chairman and the managing director. In other organizations, the public relations departments are created as a deliberate choice. So from the beginning, they will have, along with marketing division, a marketing department or production department or transport department, something like management, HR department. A public relations department is also created alongside other departments also. This is one kind of setting up a public relations wing within an organization. The objective in this second kind, one is the contingency. Whenever there is a problem, only when a problem arises, when a crisis situation comes, then only a department, public information or public relations, some kind of wing is created and then continued till it enjoys the pleasure of the head of the department or the chairman or the owner. The second one is from the beginning, it is created along with other wings, other departments of an organization, and it continues. The objectives in this second case are well defined. So these are the duties and these are the responsibilities. These are the functions of this particular department, well defined. Here, the hierarchy of the public relations head is also decided, keeping in view the overall corporate objectives and expectations from the department. Every organization will have aims and objects, the vision and mission statement. Similarly, even the public relations wing or the public relations department within the organization will have a clear-cut objective. And these PR objectives shall be in consonance with the overall objectives of the organization. If they contravene, there is no meaning in it. So therefore, there are certain objectives, and these PR objectives of the wing of the department will be in consonance, in tune with the overall objectives of the corporation. This you'll have to keep in mind. So the structure of PR setup in a private sector organization, for example, in the textbook AT&T Corporation Communication Department, let us see the flow chart, the hierarchy diagram. CEO is on the top. CEO means Chief Executive Officer. Below him, the Senior Executive Vice President or Global Marketing. This is illustrative. This flow chart is just illustrative. They have taken for your example. The top one is Chairman or CEO or CMD, whatever it is. Then next is Senior Vice President, Global Marketing Officer. Then Senior Vice President, Corporate Communications. So in this flow chart, in this organization, the level is number 3 from top. So this is the importance of public relations or corporate communication. Now, don't get confused between public relations and corporate communication. Both are same. Both disseminate information. Both tries to seek favorable opinion from the targeted audience, internal or external, or stakeholders, shareholders, whatever it is. But corporate communication is the same public relations practice practiced in a corporate organization. Generally, public relations is a general term. Government departments will not have corporate organizations. Corporate organization may have public relations wing, PR and corporate communication they may have, but government departments will not have corporate communication. They will have only information and public relations standalone. So the next level is global media relations issues and the innovation and technology communications manager, mobility communications, business solutions communication, and corporate employee communication. This is the hierarchy of the public relations department within an organization. What are the functions? Corporate visioning is one functioning. Then seeking corporate identity is another function. Creating and maintaining that identity. So identity, image, and reputation, these are all the 3 things with a prefix called corporate. Corporate identity, corporate image, corporate reputation. government departments do not have image, reputation, identity, need not bother about all these things for a government department. Will a state government seek for an identity? Yes, of course, reputation, image are there, but state government's identity, let me tell you what is identity, the major difference between identity and image. Identity you will get by some kind of logo, slogan, color, combination, design. So these things, those can be seen, will create a kind of identity. You see any logo in any newspaper or radio or television, immediately you will get to know that this belongs to this belongs to this. That gives an identity. That is called identity. It means corporate identity means a corporate will get identified by the public or the consumers, customers, clients, commuters, whatever it is, whatever is the name. So a particular organization, if it is identified through a logo, that is called identity, corporate identity. Immediately, if you see the hands like this and a lamp inside, oil lamp, you will immediately recognize that it is LIC. And if you see the Maruti logo, you will immediately see this is Maruti, this is Mahindra, this is Tata, this is Mercedes. And similarly, if you look at any logo, insignia or sign, if you can identify them, that is called corporate identity. Corporate identity gets because people identify them through a kind of image or slogan or insignia, whatever it is. And then what is image? No, let us see what is corporate identity. Creating a distinct identity for the organization and building corporate reputation also falls in the arena of public relations. So what a PR wing of an organization will have to do is first get the identity and then build up the image and continue it, and that is called, that will result into reputation. Reputation is not built over a period of a short time, over a long period it is built, and it has to be maintained so that people will have the brand loyalty, or the kind of loyalty towards the brand or the loyalty towards the organization. For example, if you see the Air India, the logo is Air India Maharaja. Similarly, many logos are there. Similarly, any Birla Sun, so Sun will be there for Birla. There are many examples. I need not tell you, you all know this. Then media relations. The first and foremost duty of any public relations wing, whether it is government department or a corporate organization, is maintaining media relations. Because whatever you do, it has to appear in the media, some kind of medium, be it newspaper or radio or television or private channel, wherever it is. So if you maintain good media relations, then your job is half done. Your content, your releases, other things follow. Traditionally, media relations expend a lot of PR time. Media serves as a very important conduit between an organization and its various publics. PR mileage in media lends credibility and visibility to organization. So sometimes a general assumption is that public relations means media relations. And many organizations employ journalists as public relations officers. This is because media people know, the journalists know what to be given to the medium, what is to be given to the public, and how it should be given, in what format, what are the principles of communication, how it should be communicated, all these things, because he's an expert. Reporter is an expert in communication. Government departments or any corporate organization will hire a journalist, a reporter who has experience in reporting, having worked in any organization, media house. He will be hired, he will be engaged, employed, or outsourced at least as a public relations manager. He is employed. So this is the reason behind this is the first and the foremost function of any public relations man is to go to the media, take the information about the organization to the media, let many people at large see it and try to understand it. So media relations is the important function of public relations setup. Then marketing communication. The marketing communication department coordinates and manages the publicity of products and services offered by the company. So alongside these, so there is another thing called marketing communication. So public relations, corporate communication, marketing communication. So PR, Corpcom, Marcom, marketing communication. So because whatever you produce, so there are three things that can be marketed. One is the product, that is goods. The second one is service that can be marketed. The third one is the idea that can be marketed. So all these things put together is marketing, whether it is product or service or an idea. So marketing communication is not entirely different from public relations and media relations, corporate communication, but it is a segment of communication exclusively focused on marketing. The marketing communication department coordinates and manages the publicity of products and services offered by the company or organization. It also helps in managing celebrity endorsements of the products and services. The department works closely with the brand management department. So brand is another word you must focus upon. What is brand? What is product? What is image? What is reputation? What is identity? What is media relations? What is marketing communication? These are all the terms and terminology you must get accustomed with. You should understand. You should know the difference. Then only you are a public relations practitioner. Then only you have done justification for your course. Then internal and external communication. The PR department generally carries out two important functions. One is internal communication for the consumption of the people working within an organization, and external communication. So when you segment the public, you segment the public into two. One is internal public and the other one is external public. So know your audience is the first and the foremost and the basic principle in public relations, or for that matter in communication. Effective communication will happen only when you put the first question to yourself: know your audience. Who are your audience? If you know your audience, you'll be mending your communication. If you know your audience, you'll be communicating appropriately. If you do not know your audience, who else you are going to communicate with? To whom you are going to disseminate the information? Whom you are going to talk to? So these are all the problems. But knowing the audience is very important. So similarly, for any organization, there will be two kinds of publics. That is internal audience, external audience. Internal public, external public. Whatever is meant for internal public may not be useful for external. What is meant for external public, that information may be or may not be useful to the internal public. Generally, for internal public, they need both. External information also the employees are required to know, because employees are said to be the ambassadors of any organization. They are the assets beyond balance sheet figures. They can either mar or make the image of the organization. You might have seen Alvin Company, and you might have listened, at least. You are not seen because you're all young. The Alvin Company has been distracted only because of the employees talked bad about the organization. So we don't know the reasons. But the result was employees of Alvin Colony talked against their own organization, and that's how that has been wound up. So employees are the ambassadors. Employees are the face of the organization. Employees are the assets beyond balance sheet figures. They are the assets. You cannot find them in the balance sheet. They are beyond the balance sheet figures. That is the importance. So internal public are more important than external public. If you can trust them, if they trust you, internal public, then nothing will happen. So they are also public. Their opinion matters. So internal and external communication, for the internal communication deals with the people, stakeholders who are working within an organization as employees, board members, etc. The external communication encompasses communication activities related to a wide range of stakeholders who are not part of the organization, but are affected by the organization policies and decisions, and vice versa. For example, customers, vendors, wholesalers, retailers, media, government, political party, leaders, community leaders, regulatory bodies, financial agencies like banks, financial institutions, all these things constitute external public. The another thing which PR department is supposed to do is to practice cordial relations with the government or government departments or government authorities. It is also known as public affairs. Public affairs. Public affairs is legal. Public affairs is part of public relations sometimes. It is always relations with the government and government authorities and government departments. Whereas propaganda is not a legal profession in India. Of course, it is legal elsewhere in America, Australia, and Central Europe. All these countries, they depend upon lobbying also, propaganda also. But lobbying and propaganda are not legal. The public relations as such will not recognize these two. But public affairs is okay because it is maintaining relations with government, government organization, government authorities, government departments, and all these things. No business can function in isolation of the government. Without government, nothing can do. No organization will survive. So therefore, government relations is very important. It has to follow the law of the land as government policies, regulations can affect the company. You are not living in an environment comprising of dust, pollution, air, that and this. You are also surrounded by the law. Law as an environment. You are living in an environment of legal structure. So from cradle to grave, from birth to education to marriage to death, buying property, everything. Let us not go into all these things. But what I mean to say is government means law. So government relations are important for public relations practitioners. The another important area which public relations department will look into is the crisis communication. This is also called anticipatory PR. Anticipatory PR. This is called crisis communication. Crisis communication is considered an inherent part of public relations. What is crisis? Crisis can be anything, any accident, any untoward incident. It will not tell you it's advent. It happens suddenly. Sometimes crises are man-made, sometimes natural. So natural calamities are crises like floods, tsunami, cyclone, downpour, cloudburst. All these things are called crises. And man-made crises are economic crisis. Somebody did something. Somebody misappropriated money. Somebody looted the bank. Somebody ditched the bank. And economic crisis arises. And within the what happens to an organization that depends upon the economy of this government, that depends upon the monies of the stakeholders, that depends upon everything. So money is important. Dhanamulam idam jagat. So crisis communication can be a situation which can be created either by human beings or can it occur naturally. So in the crisis, there is a need for communication. There is effective communication. Always the truth should be told. Tell it fast, tell it fast, tell it all. This is the mantra of crisis communication. Tell it fast, tell it all, tell the truth. So these three things you must keep in mind. That is called crisis communication. If you don't tell it fast, if you give it time, the media and the other people, the general public might be thinking, doubting the organization. Something, suppose an accident occurred in an organization. And if you suppress the facts, it will lead to more questions. More questions will give out more information, more doubts, more suspicion. So crisis communication, the mantra is tell it fast, tell it all, tell the truth. These three things must be kept in mind in the process of crisis communication. And crisis communication will have a plan already. What should be done in case of this? What should be done in case it happens? This is called anticipatory public relations, meant for handling crisis situation. And this entire process is called crisis communication. Then allied functions are investor relations. We are talking about what public relations wing or public relations department within a government department or within an organization or a corporate organization will do. So other functions are allied functions, and allied functions are investor relations. Then corporate social responsibilities also part of the functions of public. You know what is CSR? Corporate social responsibility. A corporate organization discharging the responsibility towards the society, because any organization, when it is established, will do some kind of damage either to the community within the society, or the environment, or the land, or the water or wealth under the ground, or the forest, or the trees, or the entire climate or environment. So to offset the damage, what the corporations are doing is they are doing some kind of offsetting, compensating things. That is called discharging social responsibility. So the damage you have done and you are repairing that, that itself is called discharging corporate social responsibility. That is another subject. So this is one of the functions of PR department. Advising the top management is also the function of the public relations wing. So earlier it used to be only technocrats, technicians, public relations practitioners. Now they are qualified, the profession has been refined, and the public relations practitioners have grown to the level of participating in the boardroom discussions. What is boardroom discussions means? Management decisions, policy decisions, taking decisions, policy decisions. To that level, public relations department has grown up these days. It is all because of the journey of 75 years or so, along with other organizations in the participating in the economy, in the welfare measures, and in every activity of the government, both central and state. The PR has reached to the level of advising the top management. Communication is essentially a management function. The PR itself is a strategic management function. It is a management function. It is a specialized management function. It is a specified management function, a strategic management function. Therefore, the PR man's role is at the top management level. Experts believe that public relations, due to its great versatility and aptitude for and capacity to break through information clutter and capture attention and interest the people. People's reaction of the policies and programs have to be brought to the notice of the top management for any mid-course correlations and corrections. So a PR man is also said to be an antenna and a mouthpiece of an organization. She is first mouthpiece and then antenna. What is the duty of the mouthpiece? Giving out the information, that is mouthpiece, a spokesperson, something like. Then what is antenna? Antenna receives the feedback. It grasps the signals. It decodes the signals and convey it to the management for any correlations and corrections, mid-course corrections, mid-course correlations. So a public relations man, also called AAAA, that we will deal with in another lesson. Okay, in internal in-house PR department, model of the structure of PR department is CMD or Chief Executive, then Vice President Corporate Communication, Director Media Relations. This is another flow chart. According to that chart, this is the hierarchy. Director Marketing, they are all equals. Director Internal Communication, Director Government Relations, these are all equals. This is a 3 level. And then approaches in organizing the PR department are there. And then structure and central government, you can, if you can look at the list of structure and central government PR departments, that is Government of India media units, starting from All India Radio, Doordarshan, you know what All India Radio is doing. Then Doordarshan, Akashvani, All India Radio, Doordarshan, then Press Information Bureau, Publications Division, New Media Wing, Outreach of Bureau of Outreach and Communication, Photo Division, Films Division, IIMC, Indian Institute of Mass Communication, and many more things. This is the setup at All India level. These are all called the Government of India organizations. And then structure of PR department in a state government. If you look at the government of Telangana, there will be now the minister, information minister, is the chief minister himself, honorable chief minister. He is holding the portfolio of information and public relations. Then at secretariat level, the secretary or principal secretary will be the secretary, and then below him the commissioner, and below him the director, additional director general. So there will be a little variation between a state and the state. Kerala may be having a different name, but all said and done, public relations is common. Some state governments will have the name of INPR department. Suppose for Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, it is called Information and Public Relations Department. In some states, it is Communication and Information Department. And in some states, it is called Public Information and Public Relations Department. So nomenclatures apart, the duties and responsibilities of the department are one and the same. They will have a hierarchy. For example, Telangana government will have like this: the Minister, Information and Public Relations, Principal Secretary or Secretary in charge of the department, below him the Commissioner, and then one or two directors, additional directors, deputy directors, regional directors, information officers, public relations officer, DPROs, and then divisional PROs, APROs, and then photographers and photo artists, videographers. This is all the hierarchy and setup within the public relations department. What is their duty? Their duty is to media analysis, media content analysis. They will keep watching the media and then take out the press clippings and circulate it to the concerned. And the government policies, as and when a program is announced, a plan is announced, a scheme is announced, information about that will be put into a press release and given out to different kinds of media. This is the duty. One is giving out and taking the feedback. So structure of PR department in public sector is public sector undertaking. We have seen central government, we have seen state governments, now public sector undertaking. Chairman, managing director, GM corporate communications, DGM corporations, manager corporations, assistant manager corporations, corporate communications, corporate communications. Then PROs and below them, assistant managers and all these things. This is the structure of PR department in a private sector. So what is their duty? Planning public relations program wherever they are, making communication policy decisions, diagnosing public relations problems, counseling the management. It means counseling, giving information to the management, telling them this is correct according to these circumstances, acting as a catalyst for management decisions. Catalyst means change agent. So change for the better. So whatever you counsel, you act as a catalyst, and that change must be good for both organization and for its clientele. Then supervising the works of others, planning and managing budgets, meeting with client executives. These are all the duties of a PR organization within an organization. PR in voluntary sector organizations, how they look like. Similarly, more or less similar. What is voluntary organizations? Voluntary organizations are not for profit organizations. They are called NGOs. Their motive is service, not the profit. Profit is not, that word cannot be used in any NGO. It cannot be, profit cannot be used in an organization which is functioning as a not-for-profit organizations. Cooperative setup, the organizations under cooperative setup also, they are not for profits, but they are for dividends. They are more for cooperation than sharing the profits. Okay, then this is the setup of PR department within an organization. Now come to the next unit of the block, that is structure and functions of PR firms. That is unit number 7, lesson number 7. So structure and functions of PR firms, we have already discussed about in-house PR department. Now in this, we are going to talk about the PR agencies, PR consultancies, their advantages and disadvantages. Services that are being offered by a PR firm. And what is the hierarchy within a PR firm, means PR agency? Who is an account executive? Who is the creative director? And how do you select a PR agency? And what will be the agency-client relations? Generally, principal and agency relationships will be there everywhere. But here, as far as PR is concerned, a PR agency is the one that resides outside the organization and the organization that seeks, that avails the services of the agency are called client. Here, you are not the principal. Generally, principal and agent relationships will be there, but here the client and agency relationship, as far as public relations practice is concerned. Then scope of PR agency in India. What is the scope? During the COVID period, the growth was just 2% annual growth. Now, immediately after COVID, I have seen a latest report. The growth rate of public relations business is 11% last year. So 2 digits. It is 2 digits growth. So the public relations profession is growing like anything. Now let us see what is PR agency. The structure and functions of PR firms will be like this. Don't get confused between firm, consultants, and agency. Agency firms is a general term. Agency is an agent. Consult agency can act on behalf of you because you are going to entrust some work, and after the work is over, he will report you. Whereas a consultant is on a daily basis consultancy. When there are no internal PR department, you will appoint a consultant. He resides outside the organization, but he is an expert in public relations. He will keep counseling you on these things, but he will not execute. He will just give you an idea. You will have to do the things. But whereas a PR agency, you delegate your work to the agent and he will get the things done and you will be paid, and he will be paid for that. The structure of a PR firm depends upon the genesis. There can be a one-man PR startup catering to 1 or 2 clients for specific work, say media tracking. A small PR firm may consist of a CEO or a president or a vice president. It all depends upon the size of the firm, PR firm, how many people are working. For in each PR firm, there will be separate things, separate wings for separate things. Maybe for PR is one wing of the PR firm, and advertising may be another wing for a PR firm. There is no watertight compartmentation between the PR and advertising, but advertising is also part of the public relations. Publicity is also part of studied along with public relations. Therefore, if a PR firm is a bigger one, a fairly bigger one, it will have different compartments exclusive for each service. But if it is only a smaller one, all people do these, all people will do all things, many things at a time. Then a president or a CEO will be there. There will be 3 or 4 vice presidents. So VP in the new nomenclature is nothing but manager. These days, if you look at the corporate banks, they are called VP of the branch, VP of this branch, earlier manager. There are many reasons why manager has been redesignated as vice presidents. Instead of officers, instead of managers, they have shifted to, in the corporate sector, they have shifted to the system of president, vice president, senior vice president, junior vice president, like this. The purpose is different. But by and large, a VP is nothing but a manager. Now, if you look at it, a PR firm will have a president or CEO, and then 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 vice presidents, each devoted for each particular work. VP creative head, VP media, looking after media, VP marketing communication, Marcom, VP Corpcom, VP account executive, and say below them are creative director. Then for media and for promotions, officer for one is for research and another for executive. Then below them is the category is called creative, and then creative director, creative head, press licensing person, then technicians, photographers, videographers, junior account executives below the account executive. Who is an account executive? Account executive is the contact person in the PR firm or PR agency with the client. That is the PR department of the organization. Then functions of a PR firm or public relations agencies conduct variety of functions for their clients, organizations. The basic function of a PR firm is to look after the image interests of the organization or the individual. The client need not be always an organization. Even an individual, a politician will also approach a PR firm for promoting him towards getting elected at the elections, general elections or local elections, whatever is the election. So the client can be either an individual or an organization. This requires understanding the requirements, areas of strengths and weaknesses, especially after a crisis. Media often is the most important channel to articulate the point of view on behalf of the organization or individual in such times. So, promotion and publicity provides credibility and seen favorably by their publics. This is if you look at the functions of a PR firm or an agency, it maintains stakeholder relations. Who are the stakeholders? Stakeholders and who have a stake. What is stake? Stake means interest. Who have an interest of any kind in an organization is called stakeholder. Investors are stakeholders, customers are stakeholders, employees are stakeholders. Government is also having a stake in any organization, and special interest groups are there, pressure groups are there, interest groups are there, vendors are there, stockists are there, wholesalers are there, transporters are there, hoarders are there, several other things. All these people who have some kind of interest in an organization are called, in one word, stakeholders. Then what are the other functions? Conducting press conferences, seminars, one-to-one interviews, interaction with the top executives, giving story ideas to journalists, managing promotional events, press release writing, speech writing, tracking the media. Track the media means what is happening in the media. If there is anything about the organization, that information is kept aside and used for improving the communication further. Managing media relations, conducting stakeholder research to gauge public opinion, counseling, advising the organization or the management at the times of crisis, managing social media on behalf of the company, building reputation through strategic use of communication. These are all the functions of a PR firm or a PR agency. As I told you, lobbying is not a legal profession in India. Legally, you cannot ask your PR agency by giving money to influence the government. That becomes bribery and you will be charged. So this is illegal. Lobbying and propaganda are illegal. Though political parties, religious outfits, and during the times of war, people only adopt to propaganda. Propaganda is simply giving out the facts without bothering for the opinion of the listeners. Propaganda may be repeatedly telling something which is not true and making people believe that it is true. So that is called propaganda. Whenever the ethics, whenever the moral values, whenever the truth is absent in any kind of communication, then it can be conveniently called as propaganda. If it has some truth, if it has some scientific approach, if it has some interest in the people to be communicated, then that communication ought to be honest communication, and that practice shall be public relations practice. So simple difference. Public relations is based on truth and facts, morals and values and ethics. Whereas ethics and whereas propaganda and lobbying may not be having many or all these things. So large companies often have their internal PR departments, but they also engage PR firms to outsource the certain jobs. What are certain jobs that can be outsourced? Helping the organization client in internal communication, because we cannot do on our own. Sometimes an external agency is appointed to look into it. So that is called the outsourcing the work. Preparing house journals, newsletters. Our own PR department people may not be that experts to design a cover at least, to define the contents and to write anything in the house journal. Then an expert who is an expert in editing, expert in publishing is appointed as an agency or at least a consultant to guide or to prepare a house journal, internal or external. Layout designing of printing any corporate literature. Any publication published by a corporate office is called corporate literature. Editing and production of corporate literature is a subject by itself. It deals with all kinds of editing and production just as a newspaper. A newspaper at external level, a house journal at internal level. So principles are same, designs are same, techniques used are same, but the news meant published in the newspaper maybe for the general public, but the message, but the communication, the contents, the text used in the house journal is meant for the targeted public, the exclusive public, the specified public with whom we are, the public relations department is dealing with. So these are all the duties. Over the years, one has seen top of the league PR firms engage in. Uh, there are many organizations like Edelman, Ivy League, MSL Group. These are all the things. So in-house PR departments versus PR agency, advantages and disadvantages are many. If you have a PR department internally, you'll be training them. They'll get experience. Your own people, they will listen to you. If it is a PR agency, you'll have to pay for it separately, and then the contacting becomes a problem. Your explanation becomes a problem. Their perception becomes a problem. Ultimately, what you get under mutual understand may be different, and it requires a lot of effort and time and money also. So these are the advantages and the disadvantages of the. What are the services offered by a PR firm? Marketing communication is one service. Research and evaluation will also they do. Crisis communication also, if they are experts. If they are not experts, you cannot engage them. Only an expert can be engaged for each particular thing. And media analysis, community relations, because your resources are small, limited. Your department people are very less in number. If you want to do some kind of community relations, what is community? Community is the surroundings, including the clients, customers. The community is part of the society. Society may be a larger one. Even entire India is one Indian society. But society, we are not talking about the society. We are talking about the community. Corporate social responsibility is also discharged within the community. Though it is called social responsibility, it does not mean society. It is community, connected community. The community that is dependent on you, the community that upon which you depend, your organization, that is called community. Community relations are very important because they give you the reputation. They enhance the image of the organization. Then event management. Event management can also be outsourced to a PR firm. Then public affairs, branding and corporate reputation, financial relations. And then these are all the things. Who is an account executive? Account executive, PR agencies hire account executive. Account executive is a middle management functionary in any PR firm. He will be the contact person in the PR agency or PR firm for the PR department, internal PR department. They handle different accounts simultaneously. I am an account. Suppose I am a client. I am a PR department. I am giving to X. I am Y. I am giving to X. The X will appoint a Z. Z will be the account. Similarly, another A company will also appoint the same Z will be the account executive. So account executive means one who handles the account of that particular client. He is called account executive. He is responsible. He is the middleman. He is the contact person between the client and the agency. The account executive is a specialist. He will have a wide, thorough knowledge on the industry, business of the client. He will try to understand what is your business, what is his business, what is the role and responsibilities of his agency, and what is needed by the client. So he will try to understand, he will get the things done, he will execute. Therefore, he is called account executive. Creative director is another designation. He will have the creativity in his mind. Whenever you design any corporate publication, he will guide you. He is simply called a creative director. Selection of PR agency should have an in-depth understanding of the client's business, market, competitors, major players in the market, and media, how they can be used and all these things. The relationship between the client and the agency will have to be cordial. How professional is the agency in delivering the services must be looked into in the beginning itself before engaging the agency, PR agency. And finally, what is to be looked into is the budget. It all depends upon the budget. If you have more money, you cannot squander it. You cannot just like spend it, but judiciously you have to spend it. But budget is important. Money is important. And then selection of agent is also important. So PR agency client relations will have to be cordial. And the scope of PR agencies, if I tell you some agencies like Ogilvy and Mather, Edelman, Ivy Lee, then these are all the organizations. They are dealing with major brands like KFC, PepsiCo, McDonald, and all these things, even including Taj Hotel. These are all the organizations. These are all the corporate organizations. Though they have internal corporate communications department, they will engage this kind of noteworthy international PR agencies for getting the things done. This is all about RPCE model we have discussed about. RPCE means research stage. Research also involves situation analysis and fact finding. The second stage in RPCE campaign is planning and programming, including budgeting. The third stage is communicating, that is executing the program which you have planned, and then evaluating the result through feedback. These are the 4 stages of any PR process campaign that is called PR campaign, RPCE model of PR campaign. Second thing what we have discussed was PR department, its functions, duties, responsibilities within government department at central level, state level, and corporate level. And then in the third lesson, in the 7th lesson, we have discussed about PR agency. What is a PR firm? What is a PR agency? Who is a PR consultant? How they are selected? What are the duties they can be entrusted by the client, that is the organization? All these things. And tomorrow, in the tomorrow class, we'll be dealing with block 4. In block 4, we'll be discussing about 3 things. That is corporate public relations, corporate communications. Another lesson is corporate social responsibility. And the 10th lesson would be public relations in private sector. These 3 things we'll be discussing tomorrow. Thank you, listeners, for patiently hearing me. Thanks to the university for this opportunity. Namaste. I think I am within the time. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.